Welcome to Nice One Cyril. I'm alleged comedian Simon Lipson. Joining us, as ever, have Spurs royalty Julie Welch and our very own whispering Bob, Kev Acott. So, Doncaster, job done. Quite nice to see some of the kids and fringe players getting a run out. Kinski, Archie, Williams Barnett, Tell. Then Wolves. Now, we had that familiar stodginess, didn't we? And Simmons is already being written off, and Frank is being seriously questioned. I mean, we're only fourth, won our first Champions League match, and we're into the next round of the Carabao. What is he doing, for God's sake? And because it wouldn't be Spurs without a bit of soap opera, we've got the Kane rumours. They're back. We've got Levy being banned from the ground he built with his bare hands, and we've got more nonsense on this sell-off front. Now, in the light of Wolves and Bournemouth and 1,000 other Spurs gifts, Julie will explore Dr Tottenham, Kev will wrestle with his eternal optimism-pessimism dialectic, and I'll be having words about irritating tourists at the stadium. All that plus Bodo, Leeds, and loads of gripes, a few laughs. Stick around. It's Nice One Cyril. Nice One Cyril. So, welcome to Nice One Cyril. I'm here with Julie and Kev. Lots to get our teeth into. Let's start, shall we, with that Doncaster match. We saw quite a number of changes, as we expected. We saw Kinski, as I mentioned in the intro, Archie came in and thought looked pretty good. Williams Barnett came on for a few minutes at the age of 16. Great to see, because he does look like a phenomenal prospect, if those 2 minutes of film are anything to go by. Tell was our front man. Julie, thoughts?
Tell. I so like him. You know, he tries so hard. He looks so eager. He always looks so pleased to be here. I hope he's going to develop into something, but I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. I mean, I hope he's not going to be our new John Pratt. For those older listeners who remember John Pratt, he tries awfully hard. I hate the fact that he gets a lot of stick. Don't really know what else I can say about him, actually.
Hasn't really hit his stride, in my opinion. He just seems to be constantly searching for something. When I was a kid, I used to play tennis with all the adults at my tennis club, and I was a really good player when I was playing with my friends, but when I turned up with the adults, I couldn't play. I just couldn't hit the bloody ball. And I feel like Tell knows he's got something, but he just can't find it when he's playing in the Premier League and with the big boys. Kev, it was not difficult opposition, of course, but the fact that Tell didn't shine, and I like Tell. I mean, I know he works hard and he wants to succeed. You can see that, but has he got it? Has he got what it takes? If you can't shine against Doncaster, is that telling us all we need to know?
I think it is. When I go into the positive v negative, optimism versus pessimism thing, I think I was really optimistic. I thought this was a good chance for him, and then he had a good chance, and one of the most outrageous misses I've seen for a long time. And I think we've seen a lot of outrageous misses really at that ground, and it was just depressing, really. I hope he didn't get the stick that he's got before. I wasn't there, so I watched it on television feeling guilty, knowing the stick I was going to get when I next went to the ground. I hope he didn't get too much at the ground. I think on the whole, we're decent fans that don't. There's been one or two exceptions with Johnson, but I suspect it doesn't matter whether he gets stick or not. It doesn't feel like he's going to make it with us. He could go on loan. Maybe if he goes on loan to a championship team, or he might find his goal-scoring boots. But I don't know. The reason we've got him partly is because Bayern Munich didn't rate him. And there's a reason for that.
Yeah, and they didn't rate him to the extent that we got him for 35 mil. Which, I mean, I'd take 35 mil now, but I mean, for a player at the top level, that's not very much, particularly for a player that ought to have loads of potential, all his good days ahead of him. I think the issue for me is I can't see that he's a dribbler. I can't see that especially fast. He's certainly not a centre forward, as Julie mentioned. I think last week he doesn't seem to have the strength or the heft. He didn't get a lot of stick at the ground, actually, even though he actually had 2 air shots, which takes some doing for a professional footballer. And I just feel like, as I said earlier, he's either trying too hard or he doesn't have it. We don't know. And I don't know whether Frank will persist with him if he can't deliver. Let's move on. I was quite pleased to see Kinski out there. We talked about Vic the other week, didn't we? And we may talk about him again in relation to Wolves. Kinski just strikes me as a kid with time. He looks like he's not panicking. His distribution is crisp. He doesn't flap. He made a brilliant save from a good volley. Julie, I don't know. Look, Vic has been fantastic most of the time, but we do know he has his flaws. Are you seeing Kinski as a likely, first pick as the season goes on?
I would far rather see Kinski, I must say, at the moment. I mean, maybe Vic is going through a bad patch, but there is something about him. I mean, I've called him Mr. Flappy for some time. I mean, he deserves a lot for that late save he made against United in Bilbao. That's when you need Vic. Ange always referred to him as one of the leaders, so he's obviously quite strong and influential figure. We don't know whether Kinski has that kind of personality. I think Kinski is very young, very promising. I certainly think we'll see a lot more of him this season because hopefully, we're going to stay in a lot of competitions. So he'll need to. And when he arrived last season, out of desperation, he was fantastic. I mean, really, I was surprised in a way that Vic got his job back.
I mean, he does seem unusually composed and sure of himself. And he wasn't perfect when he came in last season, but we talk about flappy Vic. There's something panicky about Vic. The ball's at his feet. There's just this kind of stuttering nervousness. Whereas Kinski he's got it under control. He can go with 2 feet. He can do everything. And there was a moment, wasn't there, against Wolves right at the end, just before we equalised. But Vic, we're desperately trying to get forward, and Vic clubbed one straight into touch off his left foot. So this is obviously a conundrum for us, and we'll have to come back to this. Let's have a little chat about Archie Gray. Kev, he came in against Doncaster. Again, obviously, as we say, not the most challenging competitors, but he did look really smooth and very good and got into some good positions.
He did. I mean, thinking back to last season when we had to play so many young players, and he did an incredible job out of position. And he hasn't really had a chance to play very much in position at all. And I think he started to do that against Doncaster. It's, he needs more. He needs more time. Given the performance against Wolves, I think my temptation would be to bring him in either tomorrow or Saturdays.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. We do seem to have quite a lot of interesting young midfielders. We've got Pap, obviously, who's been brilliant this season. Beraval and now Archie Gray, and all of them playing in and around the central areas. So there's not enough room for all of them. If we assume at some point that Simmons is going to be a central, not a 10 really, so there's going to get very crowded in there. But seeing him play, and you see his abilities and his power and his speed and his composure on the ball, you think, you really need him in there. If we just got to accommodate him, find a way. Moving on to Williams Barnett, nice to see him. I have actually watched quite a bit of him on, the Spurs Academy account on Twitter, and he does look incredibly special. Julie, have you seen much of him?
Not a lot. I'm always a bit suspicious of players who look absolutely fantastic in the kindergarten. Then, where it's like you were saying about playing tennis with the grown-ups. He's obviously got a lot of growing to do. Think that I would like to I'd like a moratorium on him for a bit, actually. I don't think it's any good. We've talked about Mikey Moore before, all that promise, and now now it's a bit kind of disappointing what's happening. Does he have it? You just don't know. You can't tell. I mean, some players look absolute pants when they're 16 or 17, and you're surprised, that they actually make it through, and they turn out good uns. It's such a lottery. I don't think it's great for him to have all that sort of applause and interest at the age he is. I mean, yeah, he does look great. He looks like a proper footballer. When standing, about to take the pitch for whatever it was, 5 seconds. He did it well. He looked the part. Don't particularly want to see him get much game time. I don't think he will.
No.
I think, he might get another kind of cameo appearance with the ups, but I just hope that he doesn't sort of disappear under all the hype, really. It's not fair.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be pretty careful with him. Mikey, we talk about Mikey every week. He turned out he came on as a sub for Rangers, and I happened to see that little cameo, and they were drawing with another Scottish team. I don't know. And Inverness, was it? Could have been. And Mikey came on. It didn't look great, but then he won a corner with a good bit of work. From that corner, I think he nodded on, and Aaron scored. And I thought, well, I'll go and check on Twitter because they've given him such hammer. Maybe they'll say something nice about him, the Rangers fans. And yes, you useless. What a waste of time. Get out, you shite. Fuck off. So that hasn't assuaged their fury with our boy. So and there is talk that he might either come back or go on a different loan because it doesn't seem to be the right one for him. Now then, let's move on to the Wolves match. Fucking hell. Kev, I mean, we were talking, weren't we, during the match, and just, it was...
That was the most interesting part of it, actually, us talking during the match. It was the most skilled and imaginative part of the whole.
Yeah, it was completely lacking in ideas, wasn't it? And we seemed to be back to stodgy. I don't know if it was... We had an expectation, here we are. We're playing a team without a point after 5 games. They've been hammered everywhere they've gone, home and away. And, I think we signalled this, didn't we, last week? We signposted it, saying, well, what could possibly go wrong? Well, that was what happened. It was so Spurs, wasn't it, Julie? We didn't play. We didn't turn up, really. The only thing is I knew we would probably get an equaliser and that Palhinha would score it because someone tweeted, when you're chasing a goal, the last person you want on the pitch is Palhinha. I think that was Gary of Chelmsford, and he's always, because he's always wrong, that had to be the right answer. And also the other thing that happened was I left early. I left on 87, and I think I should take some of the plaudits because without me leaving, there's no way we'd have scored. But Julie, it was so disappointing, wasn't it?
Yeah. Just before I say any more, though, lovely goal, but wasn't it? Perfect time. 94 minutes. Yeah. We led the way. Forget Arsenal. We led the way in late goals. It was a ghastly match. And when, sort of 9 or 10 minutes after the restart, got their goal, well, here we go. We fought back. We didn't collapse. We got the point. Part of the problem, I think, is that Thomas Frank is still, he's still trying to put the jigsaw together. I'm just going to say, though, that the thing about, Kudus had to switch to the left to accommodate Johnson when he came on. All that sort of trying to fit bits together where they shouldn't be. And also, I don't know what you think, Palhinha and Bentancur together, is that really working?
Well, let's deal with those 2 points, Kev. First of all, Palhinha and Bentancur, I always thought that was going to be our preferred sort of central midfield base against great teams away, right? When we're at home against faltering teams, that shouldn't be happening. What are your thoughts on that? Was he overcautious to stick them both in?
I think he was. I think this is the first match where I know, like you said at the beginning, people are sort of having a go at Frank already, and it's. But this was the first match where I thought he made a few mistakes, and they were tactical mistakes, really, and personnel mistakes. And I think that was the first one. We needed more creativity and more energy going forward. There was very little. Richarlison, although he's getting a lot of the blame for a very poor performance, actually, we didn't use him. I don't know what he was doing. He wasn't part of the team at all. But that wasn't just his fault, I don't think. I think it was if you're going to have this sort of big, slightly lumbering sort of guy up front, then use him. But we weren't using him. The whole thing, nothing quite worked. I think the changes made things worse. And a lot of that, and I think it's absolutely right. He's trying to fit the pieces of the jigsaw together. And I think it's unfair to expect him to have done that already.
Yeah.
But he made some mistakes, I think.
It was odd, wasn't it, to stick Kudus left and Brennan right. We know Brennan has played left, mostly on the left. He did have a good game and he scored a very good goal against Doncaster from the right, so maybe that's what he was thinking. But Kudus looked very ineffective on the left, and I don't think that's because he can't play there. I think it's because he hasn't played there anything like enough, and it was just to suddenly throw him into a position with which he's unfamiliar with, when you're chasing a goal and it's all a bit desperate. It didn't sit right with me. And then you talk about Richarlison, I'm not his biggest fan. It's just not his fault that he's not a centre forward. But the problem is, we early in the first couple of games, we noticed how we were going long, quite happily going long. And I think that has diminished with the growing realization Richie can't hold the fucking ball up. So we end up trying to play out, and we can't play out either. There are problems, aren't there, Julie? Sort of structural issues. And let's have a look at poor old Simmons, who's getting a load of flack, of course. Well, he has been, he has played 4 games, hasn't he? So he's entitled. Yeah. We're entitled to hate him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's coming along well in the hate stakes, but again, that's not his position, really, is he? He's sort of shoved into some place because he's got to be. We won't be really kind of ticking along properly, I don't think, till Solanke comes back, because Solanke does all the stuff that Richarlison can't do. And if he ever comes back, he's got this mystery ankle problem, just as he's got his mystery dead leg problem. Don't know what can Thomas Frank do? The alternatives we've just discussed, Richarlison and Tell. Cam Johnson played centre forward? I don't think so. We're stuck, really. Thomas Frank is making the best out of a bad job at the moment. I'm very loath to criticise him because of that. Inherited a team from the last manager, who inherited a team from the last manager, and so on. Until there's a manager here for a decent amount of time, given 3 seasons rather than what was the Levy 2, I just think these problems are going to continue, added to the fact that for some reason we keep buying Crocs. The thing about Moani.
Yeah, Moani.
Yeah, if he came from Amazon, you could send him back. But unfortunately, we've got him now.
What happened to all the packaging as well? Christ, have we thrown that away already? And should have kept that in the go-karting bit, and just in case we had to send him back. Let's move on. Now, I read some very erudite pieces on some Spurs fans forum. Here's one. It said Simmons is already a luxury player. Another one said that, is he cause for concern? What's wrong with our fans? Are all fans this impatient and thick? He's played well. He's come in. We've seen glimpses of brilliance. He wasn't very good against Wolves. Who was? And his touch was off and his passing was a bit off. He's in the wrong position. Kev, what's wrong with our fans? Why are they not prepared to? And we're doing all right. We're 4th. Why are they so utterly idiotic at times?
It depends on whether the idiotic Gary from Chelmsford's on Twitter are representative, because I think it's so easy, isn't it, to just assume people on Twitter represent Spurs fans. And the people around me, who to me are sort of the real fans, were pissed off against Wolves. But no one was having a go at Simmons and saying he's a luxury player. No one's having a go at Frank saying, we made a terrible mistake getting rid of Ange, and so, all that nonsense you see on Twitter. So I don't know. We have a sense of entitlement. I know other fans of other clubs sort of say, we think we're bigger than we are. I think we feel we deserve, or we do deserve more, don't we, given what we've been through? We do. Yes, exactly. We are entitled to something. We got a little bit at the end of last season of what we're entitled to. Simmons is going to take a while, and He's coming into a team or to a way of playing that probably doesn't really suit him at the moment. It's going to take a while. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I mean, I think entitlement's an odd business, isn't it? Because here we consider ourselves a big club, whatever the hell that means. It's the most pointless, delineation. Is that the right word? Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. But the fact is you get what you deserve, right? And we just haven't deserved to win anything for 17 years until we won the Europa. So I don't know, and there is that sense that who are we to say he's no good? He's a luxury player. He hasn't done anything yet, and let's judge him. Let's judge him in February or March or something like that. It's pathetic. Now look, moving on. Let's deal with some bullshit. Kane, somebody, probably was Gary of Chelmsford, knows what's in Kane's contract, and he knows there's a buyback clause, and he also knows that Kane wants to come back. Julie, you looking forward to Harry leading the line next season?
Why would he want to come back? He wouldn't. He'll go somewhere else if one of his ban time is gone. But I'd love to see him back. Yeah, I'd love to see him peak. I'd like to see Kane 2016-17 Kane, and then the Kane in the Mourinho years. It'll just be wonderful. I keep feeling I'll never see a player like that again.
No.
We were so lucky. We got lucky to have Kane. He was the one who just kept us in contention every time. We've not been the same club since he went. It's not, there's still that void. I'm going to stop now because I'm going to start weeping.
Well, I get it. And listen, I've wept many times over Harry. The thing is, we always said, because he got with the tribalism you get on social media, he's rubbish. He disappears in big games. The man scores goals. The thing is, he was playing for an ordinary club, and now he's playing for an outstanding club, surrounded by great players who pass to him and give him crosses and give him stuff to feed on. We're seeing what he's about. And, had he gone to Man City, or when he was desperately trying to go to Man City, can you imagine what his goal scoring would have turned into? I mean, it was already ridiculous. And now he's, I think, Kev, do you feel like, I'm just moving on to sort of slightly, a bit of a tangent, but Kane's goal scoring record for England is, again, ridiculous. 77 in 105, whatever the hell it is. I don't think he ever gets a pass playing for England. They don't know what to do with him. And he's still scored 70.
Yeah, and so many England fans, at least England fans on social media, slag him off, and don't value him. And again, I find it incredible. I've never been sure what this anti-Harry thing's about. I think some of it's because he's not Mr. Charismatic. He's not a great interviewee. But so what? He's one of the best players we've seen in our lifetime.
There's just one point I would like to make about Harry Kane. I mean, the man cannot do goal celebrations. He can do.
I think it's characteristically muted. It's kind of because Harry's a very look at his hair and look at the way he presents, and he's a nice man. He's a very nice man with married man with 3 kids, and he's a good geezer, and he's not going to show off. He's not a show off. 4 kids. Wow. Yeah. Even better. He's not a show off.
That's the thing.
I think his goals do all his talking for him. He doesn't need to go running around, doing. I mean, there's nothing worse in my view than pointing up to the sky after you've scored. Because I want to, honestly, I don't mean this in a vicious way. If I had a gun, I'd take that player down. Honestly, don't point to the fucking sky. Stop it. Pointing to your badge when you're going to be transferred in the summer. Stop it. Behave yourself, badge. But anyway, all right, I've had a little rant there. Let's have a talk. We hear, again, it might be Gary from Chelmsford, Daniel Levy, who still owns a significant portion of the club, was marched out with a plastic Tesco bag full of his belongings and told never to set foot in, at the ground or at the training centre ever again. How much shit is that? I mean, is it ridiculous, as ridiculous as I think it is?
I read something that said that is a fairly typical big corporation way of dealing with people when they go. And there's something there around don't let them have access to stuff we don't want them to have access to. I get the impression it was true. They did that. It's the first time I've ever really felt anything for Daniel Levy, because I think if it's true, he deserved better than that, regardless of whether it's normal corporate behaviour.
Built that stadium with his own bare hands. He was covered in cement dust. I mean, he did it all. Extraordinary.
Yeah, I think if it's true, it's sad, and it's a sort of graceless way to behave, really.
They say he did that to some of his employees. Didn't he? He told Martin Jol, just, don't even collect your stuff on the way out. Just go. So, I mean, Julie, you've met the great Daniel, of course, and you've had, a fleeting conversation with him. I mean, it doesn't strike me as that either being that bloke who marched people out or the bloke who was marched out. No dignity in that, is there?
Well, it's like Kev said. I mean, that is typical corporation behaviour, but also it's karmic, isn't it? If that was the way that, the regime had behaved with others, and going right back to the Martin Jol thing, that's karma. I would love to have seen Martin Jol's face when he got the news. That's all I'm saying.
There was a match, wasn't there? It was like he'd been sacked at half-time, or we thought he'd been sacked at half-time, and the poor guy had to stand there for the second half. It's a European match, possibly. And there was this big rumour bubbling, around the place that Levy had got shot, and poor old Martin had to finish, with the lads, get to the final whistle. I mean, I'm not sure how much of this stuff I believe and how much of it is, kind of confected nonsense just for a story. But anyway, let's move on. I tell you what we'd like to do now, because Julie, there we are. We've fucked it up against Bournemouth and Wolves, two teams, we might expect to beat at home. But there are so many stories of Spurs gifting stuff to teams who were otherwise completely shit. Do you want to take us through a few Dr Tottenham issues?
I did my research because I was trying to trace where it originated, and I have to say we brought it all on ourselves. It originated at the very, very early online days on Usenet and fan forums, and actually was brought, I think it was coined by a Spurs supporter. And I'm sorry, but that's wrong. Isn't that wrong? Because everybody wants to take this out of Spurs anyway, and we gifted them that. And the trouble is, it's quite funny, isn't it, as well? I mean...
Yes, it is.
And we keep bringing it up. And I thought, because of the Pochettino years and sort of 2-3 seasons after, maybe it had gone away, but it resurfaced. And I mean, there was just last season, Ipswich Town. That's all I'm saying.
Not forgetting Leicester City.
I think that also, coming back to the sense of entitlement, of course, we're complacent as fans. We think we're better than we are, honestly. We don't realise that actually there are a lot of teams in the Prem who are capable of beating Spurs. Obviously, just because we beat Manchester City every time doesn't mean that we can't thrash Wolves, as has been proved.
If there was an opposition player coming to us who hadn't scored for 87 games, he was going to score against us, right? Kev, you were alluding to something on Facebook, weren't you? I'm sure it's strictly a Dr Tottenham episode, but it's an anniversary of one of our greatest chuck-away matches of all time.
Yeah. And it was one of the most depressing Facebook memories I've come across for a long time, because it said 24 years ago today, we lost to Man United at home. We were 3-0 up, and one of my odd memories is at half time. I didn't have a mobile phone at that point, but everyone was on their mobiles, and I heard this guy next to me, sort of under the stand, saying, "Yeah, 3-0. No, 3-0 to us. Yeah, to us." You just knew his mate didn't believe him. None of us believed it. But at 3-0, we did think we were going to win. Maybe it'd be a bit of a struggle in the second half, 3-1, 3-2 even maybe. But And then they won 5-3. Man United won 5-3. And that was just the emblematic, I think, sort of Spurs match. With Spursy most. I mean, I don't think Man United needed our help at that point. It wasn't quite a Tottenham moment, but
no,
it was incredible. I think Hoddle was our manager.
I think he was. Yeah.
But yeah, it was just so typical.
I've got one in mind. I remember we lost at home to Burnley in a FA Cup match, 4-1. And that a rubbish Burnley side. But the one that really sticks in my mind is we were playing Man City. I don't know if it was a cup or a league. No, it was a cup match. And I can't think which, maybe FA Cup. I don't know. And it was the first match I took my disinterested senior daughter to. And there was a lot of swearing behind me. And I was doing that thing, like covering your ears. But then we scored 3 goals. I think Ledley scored in the first few minutes, and then we got another couple. And then the odious little yobbo, I've forgotten his name now, your mate, Julie, oh God, what's his name? Joey Barton. He got himself sent off at half-time. So now this very unexceptional, this is when Man City were rubbish, right? So this unexceptional Man City team are coming out for the second half with 10 men. We're leading 3-0, and we contrived to lose that 4-3. And to say we capitulated, it was a complete collapse. Do you remember that, Kev?
I do remember it. And in my mind, it was around the same sort of time that we did that with Man United. I'm not sure if I'm right, whether it's the same season, but I think it was that time. Yeah, I do remember it. And again, it's just, we knew. We sort of knew.
Yeah.
We always know.
I'm afraid we do. Now, can I just have a little rant before we go on to talk about Bodo Glimt, which is coming up tomorrow, and then we got Leeds and then the international break, so we all know what that means. I don't know, Julie, you're lucky you don't go to the ground very often, but I always have 2 seats next to me filled by, for the want of a better word, tourists, because whoever owns those 2 seats never takes them up, right? So they're always 2 fresh people sitting next to me every week. And this week we had the didactic tourist. Okay. So he was sitting next to an old guy, and I thought they were together, and they weren't. I didn't realize this. And he was gesticulating like a coach at a school's football match, right? The arms were going, the hands were going. He was doing twirly movements and, little two on each hand, and explaining every blade of fucking grass to the person next to him, who just sort of smiled benignly. And I was so conscious of his arms, Magnus Pike, the arms were just waving and waving and waving to explain fuck all, because he didn't know what he was talking about. And then had this other thing with the phone in the pocket next to me, right? And so he kept getting the phone out to look at it for literally half a second to put it back, 20 times a minute, right? And every time he did it, he nudged me, right? And he had a zip on the pocket, so he had to do the zip up. And Kev, I'm sorry about this, mate, but I'm blaming you for this, because you told us last week that you weren't going to the Doncaster match. And when you don't go to the Doncaster match, arseholes will take your seat, okay? And they take the seats next to me. And that's what happens. So you are, I'm afraid, you're to blame.
No, fair enough. Simon, this is not new to me to be blamed for things that I have absolutely nothing to do with. Typically when it comes to that ground. But I apologize.
Okay, well look, you're on a yellow, so let's not let that happen again. Honestly, I despair at times. I mean, I have had people sitting there just yelling at me, like telling me what's going on in front of me, and I think I can see. Thank you. Anyway, moving on. Now we have our second match in the group phase, the league phase, or whatever the hell it's called, Champions League. Julie, Bodo Glimt, we were very scared of them playing them in the semi-finals of the Europa League last season for no reason whatsoever. They were shit. What's your take on this? We're away. Tricky?
Yeah, very tricky. Their form is pretty much the same as ours. I think that for this season, 3 wins, 2 draws, something like that. But they have a tendency to beat their opponents 7-1 at the moment. We have such rosy memories of Bodo Glimt, because that's when it sent us to, the next level of bliss.
Yes.
I heard some wonderful stories from people who went to Bodo. It's very, very cold. So if you're going, anybody, wrap up warm. And they've got the pitch, and we're going to be complacent about it. And I just have this fear that they're just going to give us a doing. I really think, they're going to get revenge. It's not going to be a great night, especially if Tell is up front.
Well, you are the ultimate glass half empty supporter. So, you thought Doncaster would beat us. So let's take the measured view of. I wouldn't call you an optimist, Kev. I mean, that's been insult to you.
No.
But what's your take on this awkward match?
I don't feel as negative as Julie, or at least I didn't until she was talking. And now I'm thinking, yeah, she might be right. I don't know. I can't see that we can be complacent. After what happened at the weekend, you just think he's been tearing into them about that, and he's been thinking about, tactics and what's worked and what hasn't. So I think a draw, but I think we'll play well. I don't think he should. I think we should go with the best possible team that he can play. And yeah, I think we'll do all right.
Yeah. I mean, it's, if we can get a second win, 2 out of 2, that really puts us on a I wouldn't say a secure footing, because we're never on a secure footing, but it certainly can take some of the pressure off when we're going to go to PSG and absolutely slaughter them, because, all the pressure's off. So that's exciting. It's an exciting prospect. So I just want to ask you this, and we haven't prepared this, and it's something that occurred to me before. Are there any players you can think of? And the reason I raise this is because when I go onto other fans' social media, you see how much they hate their own players, right? So Chelsea hated Mason Mount. They hated him. And Madueke. They hated him. Then you go on to the Arsenal. They hate Martinelli, and they don't much like Odegaard. And the thing is, I look at players like that and I think, well, pretty bloody good. I wouldn't mind them down at Spurs. What is it? Is it this, Julie? Do we covet other players, and then, but actually, once you become intimate with the player, you start to see them for who they are?
Yeah. I never go on other fans' forums because I'm too sensitive.
Yeah. Good point.
I think, Simon, you make a very good point. We do cover players, and then, are they any? They're better than what we've got. That's the thing. I'd give anything to have him play for Spurs. I'd forgive him for playing for Arsenal if he just joined Spurs. But of course, it will never happen. It's a phenomenon, isn't it? I don't hate any Spurs players. I'm pathetic. I'm not a proper fan, obviously.
Well, I don't hate. I've never hated any Spurs player, except there are exceptions. I have hated some Spurs players, but I haven't let that hate kind of unfurl on social media. I just keep it to myself. I don't know if I hate them more than resent them. Why are you in the shirt of my team? That's like, Emerson Royal for a long time. Why are you wasting that space over there with that shirt on? It just doesn't ring true. Kev, have you got any players that you covet, and for some reason the team they play for doesn't think much of them, or the fans?
No, nothing. No one comes to mind. What comes to mind is watching that awful match last night, and Eze, and every time he did something that wasn't perfect, it was just brilliant. I was punching the air, and I think that's the way it's going to be for as long as he's there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good he becomes, because I don't think he is that good so far for them. But however good he becomes, I'm always going to be celebrating every obvious flaw, every mistake that he makes.
Yeah,
but that's not quite the same as what you're asking.
No, it's fine. Listen, we're going off at an interesting tangent. I mean, actually, because you had your Spurs blinkers on last night, you missed the fact that he actually played really well. He was pretty good. I mean, he was cool on the ball. He had a couple of good shots, and curse that bloke.
Look,
and we ended up with fancy Dan luxury player Simmons, didn't we? So,
All I'm going to say is, Simon, are you able to cut stuff out from?
Yeah,
Because,
depends what it is.
and if you promise, I'm going
Go
to
on.
tell you, I messaged my son when Eze signed for Arsenal. I messaged my son to say, I hope he breaks his fucking leg. And I stand by.
Respected journalist
Yes.
Julie Welch there. So I'm keeping that in, mate. That's gorgeous. Listen, most of us wished him, the worst possible outcome going to Spurs, to Arsenal. Now then, let's move on. We have Leeds coming up, who are sort of, they struggled a bit, then they had a good win, and they've sort of, this is the kind of match for me where Calvert-Lewin, who couldn't hit a barn door for about 5 years, is going to score a hat-trick. Thoughts, Kev? Where are we at with this match?
Well, I struggle with Leeds because when we were kids, I don't know about you, hated Leeds. You were supposed to
hated them.
Leeds. Yeah. They were with Arsenal of their time because they were defensive and negative and dirty, and everyone hated Leeds. I think of all the clubs, possibly apart from Arsenal, I know more Leeds fans who are actually decent people than any other club. And so at some point, about 10, 15 years ago, I changed. So now I quite like them. I like the, what was his name? Their manager that they loved. They absolutely loved him.
Bielsa?
Oh, Bielsa, yeah.
And I liked him as well. There was something quite sort of attractive to me about Leeds. I don't know enough about how they've been this year. I think they've been sort of mediocre, like we have, really. So it's a tricky one to predict. I think, I'm trying to avoid cliches, but it's a difficult place to go to.
Yes, it is.
They've got a ferocious crowd, I think, when they get themselves going. So if we got win there, that would be really, I think that would be really impressive. And and I'd
made the last
people to, loads of people I know to take the piss out of as well.
Yeah, good. Well, that would, hopefully that's something that will come to pass. And the last time I went to Ellen Road, I think we lost 4-1 to Everton in the FA Cup semi-final. You must remember that vile Spurs Leeds team of the 70s, Billy Bremner, Paul Madeley, Reaney, Giles. God, he was filthy. And funnily enough, I had some business with Johnny Giles' son, who was a solicitor and a very nice, charming guy. And we were talking about his dad, who I used to watch. And because Johnny Giles, who looked like he was very cool and smooth and creative, was also one of the dirtiest players you've ever seen. And I wanted to say to him, look, your dad, right? Your dad, when you were playing with him in the garden, did he ever rake his studs down the back of your Achilles? But I didn't do that because I was being professional. They were horrible, weren't they?
They were horrible, really horrible. Except I could probably, like so many people, I guess, of our age, eventually name that whole team because there were some good players as well. Alan Clark, Eddie Gray. Do you know what I mean? Lorimer. Yeah. They had some good players.
Who was that fella who twisted his arm back upside down was it Mick, wasn't it? Yeah, in the FA Cup final. So let's take some predictions then. Of course.
Because I met a lot of the Leeds players, and Norman Hunter, the second player in the lobby at Ellen Road, and I have very good memory of that because he was there in his trackie, clutching a baby pup. He was so sweet, so lovely. I was absolutely, that they were horrible on the pitch. They were such away from the pitch. I mean, Sniffer was wonderful. Poor Sniffer lost all his hair. Do you remember? I mean, he did a bit of early punditry, and he had this toupee. I thought, Sniffer, how are the mighty fallen? You, Alan Clark, the best goal scorers of your era, and you've got this horrible thing on your head. Take it.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't catch Kevin doing that ever. Never. Not that he needs one, by the way, with all due respect. There's a fair old thatch up there, and it's good of you to make genuinely bald men feel good by shaving your head. I think that's
thank you.
That's a sweet gesture.
It's nice for that to be recognised because it's not.
Yeah, well, that's the tragedy of it, isn't it? Seems you're almost wasting your time with it. But There we are. Let's move on. I forgot what I was going to talk about. I got very sidetracked with that. Yeah, do you know what? I think we ought to do a bit on the pod about players who are ferocious evil bastards on the pitch, but really, really lovely off it. I'm sure there's a fair few. Julie, that's right up your alley, isn't it? That sort of thing. Well, I'm going to set you that task. Maybe Spurs players who were. I mean, Van den Hauwe, who was it? Bonkers. Apparently was a really nice bloke.
Well, I'm talking about, really bygone days of the 70s and the early 80s, when you actually could get to meet players. So players who were horrible on the pitch, after that, I mean, they might have been total bastards off the pitch as well. I have no idea.
Possible. Well, I hear Ben Thatcher was a nice boy. So,
that went down well, didn't it?
Yeah. All right. Well, look. Just now, a quickie. Leeds. What are we saying, Julie? Quick.
Well, we don't. What's your? Okay, so they don't need Dr Tottenham. That's all I'll say. Yeah. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is a twat. I bet he scores. And hopefully we'll get 1 point. I can't see it being as it. I don't know. I mean, having said I hope we get 1 point, I mean, it may be one of those sort of great Spurs performances that we sometimes get. We'll do them 4-1. Who knows?
Well, yeah, it could be one of those where we suddenly think we're a good team, and then, of course, we play, some load of crap at the next match at home and lose. And we've got the international break coming, and as is our wont, we tend to have disastrous performances and results before international breaks, just so that we can, fester for a couple of weeks with that sort of the taste of that awful defeat. What are you thinking, Kev? Is it are we gonna do?
I'm thinking we're going to win.
Wow,
things will click more than they have done up to now, and we're going to win it. So I was about to say with a Tell hat trick, but that would be going a little too far. Yeah, 3-1 to us.
One, I like it. That's good. I've got a little sneaking feeling we're gonna turn it on and come away with a 2-0. But I've never been right, so why should I start now? All right. Well, look, we are done. Thanks to Julie and to Kev. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple and Spotify and all the other podcast platforms for that matter. And why not give us a follow on X/Twitter? We are at Nice One Cyril Pod. And we also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. So get involved. We always love to hear from you. Tell us what you think about the pod and Spurs in general. Okay, that's it. We're done. We'll be back next week. See you then. Come on, you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril.